Welcome everyone, this is the 17th episode of the Shoegazing podcast with me Jesper Ingevaldsson of shoegazing.com, one of the leading blogs in the world on quality shoes. This time we're going to go in depth on the experience of ordering bespoke shoes, this from a bespoke shoemaker's viewpoint. Nicholas Templeman is an independent bespoke maker based in London, England, who left his job at the legendary workshop of John Lobb to set up his own brand. He has a reputation of being very service-minded, going that extra length to make both the process and the final products something special for the clients. We talked a lot on the customer experience topic, but also about, for example, his journey into shoemaking, about pros and cons with the traditional British ways of doing bespoke fittings, about COVID and what a mess it has made of the bespoke footwear and clothing worlds in many regards, and much more. So enjoy the listen. Nicholas Templeman, welcome to the Shoegazing podcast.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Yeah, how are things in London?
Today, wet.
Wet, yeah, right. Yeah, we had those here as well in Sweden.
Did you have the flooding? We had bad
no,
flooding.
not
here.
that bad, but not exactly where I live. But we had some floodings here around in the close areas. So yeah, it's not like in Germany or Belgium though.
Horrible.
Luckily. So we're going to talk a bit about customer experience for the bespoke journey and all that. But I thought, like I often do in these podcasts, talk a bit about your background to start, so everyone learn who you are and all that. For those
me too, hopefully.
Yeah, exactly. You will find yourself
Yes.
during this
journey.
Yeah, but I mean, you started your trip in the shoemaking world at John Lobb.
I did, yes.
Yeah. So how did you end up there?
A combination of timing and good fortune, I guess. I wanted to get into shoemaking, so I got in touch with John Lobb, and they were looking for someone. So that was that. No, it's not a long story.
Yeah, they had like an open spot just when you called.
Yeah. They just happened to be looking for a last maker, which was, I think it was the first last maker they'd taken in 10 years. Yeah, they said, "Oh, you come and meet us." So when I got there, they said, "Oh, you're here for the job. Did you bring your CV?" And I said, "No, but I can send one if there's a job." I didn't realise there was one. So I got shown around and spent a few hours there, annoying a few of the people who worked there. And yeah, I was working at the time for a company doing electrical work. I'd left university and quit my job. 3 weeks later, I was at John Lobb starting my month's trial.
And when was this?
This was 2007.
Yeah. So, and how was your time at Lobb?
It was good. I did a month's trial to start with, I think just to make sure that I wasn't, going to burn the place down. And then after 1 month was up, this is October, 1 month was up, and I said to Jonathan Lobb, I said, "Oh, so how did he didn't tell me not to come back, so I thought that's quite good. After a month, so the next day I came in and I said, "How was my month's trial?" And he had this confused look on his face. I didn't know what I was talking about. I said, "Oh, yeah, you're fine. You're fine. Can you go and do this?" I said, "Okay, that's me. I'm in."
You were super nervous about.
Yeah. This thing that only mattered to me, and yeah, so that was my apprenticeship. Began then. It was great fun working there. Made a lot of friends and learned a lot about West End shoemaking. If you want to explore that side of shoemaking, the shoe industry, West End shoemaking, there's nowhere better now, because they uphold a lot of traditions still, and a lot of the people who do work for them, they all know sort of the history and so many stories that you wouldn't have heard anywhere else because it's such an old shop, and I still think back on the stories I get told of customers and people that work there, and it makes me laugh.
Yeah.
I keep in touch with people I work with, and we talk about these things that happened, and it's great memories.
Yeah.
I was there for 7 years.
And you were a last maker. So 2 years apprenticeship and then 5 years as last maker.
I did 2 years apprenticeship. There's no set time. So after 2 years, they said, "Oh, the customer came in," and until that point, when a customer came in to order a new pair of shoes, it would be a case of speak to them, get to know customer service and things, and then as soon as they want to order, go and find a fitter to take the measure. And so I've been there just over 2 years. I've been there, and a new prospective client came in, and I went to Jonathan. I said, "Oh, there's a customer here to order shoes," and he said, "Well, off you go." So I went and had this shaky hand and pencil and drawing around his foot. I remember the times I practiced and what I was supposed to do.
How did they turn out? The first, last.
You know what? I don't think I got any better. It was. It's.
It started on top, then been going downhill since.
Oh yeah, exactly. Once you hit the limit, there's nowhere else to go. I think for a lot of last makers, they'll tell you the same thing, that their first pair is I think there's so much pressure riding on you that you just end up getting it right, you know, just because you put so much into it and you want to get it right. And luckily they were good. So that was nice. I still remember his name and remember what he ordered.
Cool.
Yeah, it was a great experience.
Yeah. And why did you decide to leave eventually?
Basically, I did my apprenticeship and there was nowhere to go. There's kind of the glass ceiling, you know. So I spent 2 years apprenticing, and then I was a last maker, and I had my colleagues who were also last makers working next to me, and they'd been there for 30, 40 years, some of them, and I was basically, that was my future mapped out in front of me. There's no progress or development, which is fine, you know, if that's what you want out of life, then that's okay. But after 5 years and thinking, well, this is, you know, not that I never dreamed of running a business or having my own shoe company, but I'm a creative person and I want to have some sort of control and say in the direction of these things. Otherwise, I'm just not satisfied. So yeah, I just thought, well, I just had my second child, and I thought I was 32, I think, at that point, and I thought, well, if I don't do it now, it's just the clock's gonna keep ticking, and I'll be 35, I'll be 40, I'll be 45, and I thought, well, just better try. I mean, what have I lost? I've lost this bench and these four walls to work in, and that's it, you know. So why not give it a go? If it works, great. If it doesn't, then, you know, figure something else out.
Yeah, and this was about 7 years ago when you started Nicholas Templeman Bespoke Shoemaker.
7 years ago, yeah. Well, I saw the rise of social media and all these sort of different ways of accessing people. I think 10, 20, or not 10, but back then I was thinking, 10, 20 years ago, there was none of these things. There was no Instagram, there was no Twitter, there was none of this sort of stuff. There's very little internet. So if you wanted to start your own business, you'd have to invest a lot of money in a shop just so that people would know where you were, that people would walk past, and you'd have that sort of presence. But you can have that now, that presence, and worldwide, broader presence, than you would having a shop in somewhere in the West End. And I thought, well, now's the time to try. If I don't try, then there'll be 10 other people who look like me and talk like me and make shoes like me doing the same thing. So do it now, see if it works, great. If it doesn't, oh well, you know, at least I can say I tried.
Yeah, and what was the main challenges setting up on your own?
It was scary. I mean, I didn't know where I was going to find customers. I didn't know if anybody would like what I did. I mean, working for a company as big as Lobb, people didn't come in for me. They came in for Lobb, which is absolutely fine. But none of my clients there had ever seen my work before. They just happened to come in and speak to me. So no one ever see what I could do or what my thoughts were or ideas were or tastes were. No one ever knew that. I didn't know if people would respond well or not to that. So that was scary. I didn't know where I'd find clients. I didn't know if anyone would be willing to order shoes from some guy who left the company. I didn't know.
Yeah. Where did you find your clients?
I was, again, lucky that I thought I need a website. I need a workshop. So I turned the room that you came and did a bit of last making into my workshop. I turned that into a workshop first of all, made a bench and tried to organise things and whatnot. Get some tools together and materials and stuff for making samples. I thought, okay, I need a website. So I got a big book on HTML for dummies and started writing a website, registering a domain, all that sort of things that are just completely alien. And I had no idea if I'd upload it properly. So I literally Googled myself to see if I could get my website on Google, And I saw a thread on Style Forum about shoes, and I've never read Style Forum before.
Okay.
But when someone, I think it was Rolf. Someone was talking about there's no young people in shoemaking or something, and he knows a lot of people. I'd never knew him, but he heard my name from somebody that he knows about being a young last maker at John Lobb, and he was saying, there's these young people, and he put my name in there. And he said he heard good things, so I literally logged on just to say, I found this comment from a few weeks back, and I just wanted to say thank you, it's very kind of you. Then people started asking questions, and then someone else Googled me, found the website, and went from there. People just asking questions, and a lot of people read the forum, and I started getting inquiries from people in America saying, when are you going to travel over? And it'd be nice to have a meet up and a chat and things. So I was like, okay, well, I'll come over now. I just went to America. I travelled before anyway, so that wasn't too daunting. I knew the ins and outs. I thought, well, it'll be a nice holiday at the very least. I don't often stay in 5-star hotels when I go on holiday. So I thought, well, that'd be nice. I'll go and see the cities that I like, and maybe get some orders, and maybe it'll work. So I went over, got some samples made up, and went over to the US and met a few. They're friends now more than clients, people that have been with me from the start, still order shoes, and people are still in touch with them. That's one of the nicest things that I experienced in the whole thing. I didn't really expect was just making friends rather than just turn up as a representative and take orders for a company. The clients I speak to now, we go out for drinks, we go for dinner, we keep in touch, we talk, email, not even for work reasons, just to say hello, see how they're doing. I know things about their family, they know things about me, and we got common interests in some things, and it's nice to talk about. So, that was the first trip. It was a massive success going to the first trip, and then just escalates from there. I think once you've got a few people who order shoes and actually receive them, and they're not complete disasters, then they'll tell their friends, and just goes from there. But I think the hard part is getting the snowball rolling.
Yeah.
So I was quite lucky with timing there, because literally no one really knew who I was, and I wasn't famous. I'm not famous now, but I wasn't famous. But when I left, I didn't have a name for myself when I started. It just fell into good luck. Which hopefully it keeps going.
So, for the making, your focus is still on the last making. Do you use many different outworkers for closing and bottoming, or just a selected few?
No, a very small team of people that I work alongside, like 3 people who who are friends before anything else. They're friends of mine, and we get on well, socialise with them by choice, not just because of work. And we like working together. Well, I think we do. I enjoy working with them, and I think they enjoy working with me. When you're an out worker, you've got the luxury of taking whatever work you want to do. You don't have to. You're not being paid for your time to be there from 9 o'clock in the morning until 5 o'clock at night doing the work for your boss. A good out worker can work for who they actually enjoy working for, making the work they want to make. So yeah, I think it's a nice relationship to maintain.
Yeah.
In that way.
What would you say are the sort of pros and cons with the outworker system that is sort of standard in the UK versus doing most or everything in-house, which is common for example, France or Japan?
Yeah, I mean, there's benefits to having in-house staff. The downside, in my view, of having like an in-house, prioritising an in-house team is the only thing that they're keeping there doing the work is the monthly salary. When they're there in-house, it means you can treat them worse and they'll keep working for you because they're reliant on that predominantly. Whereas when you have outworkers that you have a long relationship with, working partnership, because it's not just, you don't just hand the work over to them and say, I want this then, and bang, bang, get on with it. You have it's a partnership. They provide the work and they enjoy doing it for you, and they do it because they love it as well as needing the money. And so yeah, in terms of from the client's point of view, if you're getting them the way it should be, if you have an outworker doing the making for you, if a client comes back and orders more shoes, it goes to the same people. So there's the same consistency you would have. They're just getting paid differently. They're not whether they're on a salary and you're paying their pension is irrelevant. It's the same person doing the same work. I mean, the people that I work with, so 3 people. We worked together since the beginning, and I hope we continue working together for as long as possible, for many, many more years. And every client who's had a pair of shoes from me and it's gone to whichever people, it will continue to go to those people, and you will have the same consistency. The benefit for the outworker is good. I mean, I find that creative people don't really like having to come in at 9 o'clock in the morning and produce for these hours, because it's quite draining. Making things and thinking about how you're making things, and every pair's different. It's not like it's not factory work. You can't just turn up and do this part of a routine for these many hours and produce that much work, and it's going to be fine at the end. It's not the same. Shoemakers generally, we're quite temperamental people, and if we want to turn up at 11 or 12 and work until midnight, then that's what we want to do. If we want to just take the day off and ride our bike for 6 hours before doing some work, then that's what you want to do. Because ultimately, I feel that if I'm forced to do something, my work is eventually going to suffer. And I would rather do good work rather do good smart work for less time than slog away for bad quality work.
Yeah. All right. So let's get into the customer relationship and all that then. So to start, for those who don't know, how would you describe your first meeting with the new client that are about to order a pair from you?
When there's champagne, there's...
Exactly. Of course.
Well, it depends. If I see you in the UK, then it'll be different to seeing me on a trip on a trunk show somewhere. Generally, again, everything's sort of different for different people. Some clients come to me in my workshop in the house. and they get to see the process or the different parts and elements and whatnot. Have a coffee and a chat. Go look at the bicycles, you know, if they're into cycling, which surprising amount of shoe customers are. Just talk things over and see what they're looking for and show them various things, and the longer we talk the better for me, because it's not just sort of getting a piece of paper and writing down what you want. It's I guess I kind of do a bit of psychological profiling on a very low-key level of just what kind of person they are, you know, just kind of assess them and what kind of thing they're into, what kind of clothes they're wearing, and what kind of shoes I think they're going to want to wear, what kind of shape they're going to be looking for. That can go against my favour sometimes as well. I mean, sometimes one time I met an American client on one of my early trips, and he was a stereotypical American, quite loud, and not that it was bad, but he was just, you know, a very larger than life character. So I had this, when I went home, I had this mental image of this kind of big, booming kind of, kind of similar physique to yourself. And then when I made the lasts, I ended up making them kind of with this big guy in mind. Tried the shoes and they were absolutely enormous, you know, because they're bigger than he actually was in real life. I just spent so long thinking about this guy as this certain sort of character. Yeah. But that's what we have the fitting for, you know, just to find out where I went wrong and put it right again.
And so how much do you advise your customers and try to give input on what to order and so on?
As much as I feel is required. I mean, some people you just know that they aren't quite sure, and you try and sort of guide them towards certain things. Quite often you get people who think they should order a certain style because that's what they read, you know, like, oh, I need to get a pair of black Oxfords for my first pair. And I'm looking at this guy, I'm in a hotel in San Francisco, you know, no one wears suits, and I'm like, why do you need a pair of black Oxfords? You know, do you have many funerals to go to? Or says no, I generally wear trainers to the office. I says, well, do you want black Oxfords? No, I want a pair of loafers, but I shouldn't get them for my first pair. It's like, well, why not? If that's what you want to wear, then it shouldn't be a challenge for you to order them. It should be a challenge for me to make them. You know, I don't want to make my life easy. I want to give you a pair of shoes that you want. If everybody just wanted plain black Oxfords, it would be a very easy life for me, but it'd be quite boring as well. So yeah, just trying to figure out what everyone actually wants and will wear a lot, and yeah, just give them as much sort of input as I can with my perspective as someone working in the industry who sees a lot of shoes and has to think about shoes every day, more than most clients ever should or will. I'm gonna come across things that they haven't thought about, and if I suggest something, then I can.
Yeah, so you're sort of like guiding them towards the direction that you feel that they should head towards.
Yeah, and it's like any sort of any relationship with professional. You know, you trying to just you want to. I want my clients to have the shoes they want. Just like, you know, if I don't steer them the right way, then I've failed. You know, and I want them to come back. You know, it's the second and third and fourth pairs that you want, that you're working hard for.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they're the ones that don't have the risk. So if I put as much effort as I can in the first and get it right for them, then that's what I've got to do.
So when taking the measurements and, you know, discussing fit and all that with your client, does it help for you if it's an experienced customer who can describe things well for you and all that? Or do you get sort of all you need from the feet, so to speak?
If a customer's more informed, it can help, yeah. If they've had shoes before, then a lot of my clients have had shoes from elsewhere, because I think if you have managed to find out about me, then you're generally going to like shoes. And when you first dip your toe in, so to speak, you're probably going to end up going to somewhere a bit bigger. And for whatever reason, you might want to try something new for the variety, or for looking for something different or better, whatever. Then that's usually when you find me. So most customers now are generally more informed as an independent shoemaker than when I work for a company.
Yeah, I can assume that at Lobb's you had, people who didn't really understand what bespoke shoes actually were coming in.
Yeah, you did quite often. Yeah, you would have people that didn't know the ins and outs of bespoke. Didn't really want to understand sort of the time and the effort involved and how things work, and sometimes you'd have people that just, well, if I go down to the shop down the road, I can get these things that are more expensive and they're off the shelf much quicker, and they're flashy, and why would I want to buy these that I've got to wait months for? Well, good luck, enjoy your shoes from down the road.
Yeah.
I'm not what you want, I don't get that much now at all, because people come to me because they've seen what I have made, and hopefully they like it and they want to try it. So it's a nicer experience for me in many ways.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But in terms of measuring them, it doesn't make much difference. I mean, everyone measures differently, and the measurements aren't even that important, to be honest.
What do you mean with that?
You make the last, and you can make it the most perfect on measure. Everything that you could imagine, you can make it like a machine would, and it would be absolutely on measure and perfect in relation to the piece of paper that you've got. But then you put it on the foot, and the client doesn't like it. What do you do? The measurements are perfect. Do you tell them they're wrong and your measurements are right? No, you have to adapt, and the measurements inform you. They're your starting point. But even when you make a last and you look at it, and you can think, well, yeah, that just doesn't look right. The measurements are right, but it just doesn't look right. And if I make the shoe on this, it's not gonna look right. The shoe's not gonna look right, and it's not gonna put on the foot right. So you everywhere. Every step, every decision you make is a kind of a compromise in some ways, because you're not just thinking about if it's going to fit the foot properly. You've got to think about it's going to fit the customer's mind properly. You can make it the most comfortable shoe that they've ever put on their foot, but if it looks like a naval battleship, then they're not going to wear it, and they're not going to. If they think it's ugly, they're not going to wear the shoe, even if it's kind of comfortable.
Yeah, is it common that the last shape a customer wants doesn't really suit his feet?
That's part of. You try and guide them that way when they come for the initial measurements and things. You do try and guide them.
Yeah.
Most of the times, people will assume they've got a lot worse feet than they actually have, because they've worn ready-to-wear shoes and they're not quite right, and they get pinching here and there, and they think, oh, my foot's super wide, and I can't have a nice shaped shoe. And then I measure them, and I think, well, you know what, you're in the top 10% of foot shapes.
Yeah.
You just don't fit the same as the other 90% of the world who have to wear these ready-to-wear shoes that they're made to fit for, because they don't ready-to-wear companies, they don't care about you. They care about the big market. So they often expect a lot worse than I can make a really nice looking shoe out of this without many headaches. It's quite rare to have someone come in with like a super wide foot and they say, I want this Beluti kind of toe shape. And at that point, you just got to say, like, I can do that for you, but it's going to be twice as long as your foot, and it's not going to look right. And
yeah.
Usually people that I see now, they're quite happy just to let me go ahead and do what I think's right. And I reassure them that at the fitting, that's when we see where we are.
Yeah. So onto the fitting then. Again, can you sort of describe that process?
Yeah, so we generally make the shoe in welt, which is a shoe half made. Is the real upper that you would normally have. I often call it a fitting shoe in my head, because if it's not right, then I'll quite happily take it apart or throw it away and start again if I have to. So in some ways, it is like a fitting shoe, like a mock-up that you hope is right or can be made right quite easily. And yeah, try it on the foot. It's quite difficult for clients at this point. It's more for me than them, really. They can see the shape of the toe, but even then it's difficult without the sole on, because the welt's not properly trimmed. It looks a bit strange.
Yeah.
It's so shallow. It doesn't feel like a finished shoe. So it's quite difficult for a client to give much feedback at this point. You give some, but it's not like you would after you worn a pair of shoes for a day. So it's more for me just to see where I've, can improve things if I can. If there's anything glaringly obvious that I know I have to strip down and start again, what adjustments make to the last. They can see the toe shape. If the toe shape they expected, then we can assess that. It all being well, then we can just carry on and finish after some adjustments if required. If not, then I might have to order more leather in and start from the beginning, which is what it is,
How often does that happen?
Not often, thankfully. So I expect 7 or 8 out of 10. I expect to need some small adjustments with the fitting. 1 or 2 out of 10, absolutely nothing to be done. 1 or 2 out of 10, start again.
Yeah.
So not many. It's not even 1 out of 10 to start again, really. I mean, it's usually there. I could probably count between maybe 5, maybe less than 10, definitely, since I started on my own that I've had to do over. But there's always ways to make things a little bit better if you can.
Yeah.
I usually got to make some sort of adjustment. Sometimes a big adjustment.
But as you mentioned, you do it the old school British way with the welt fittings. Have you thought of going over to separate, simpler fitting shoes that you just discard afterwards?
In my experience, it doesn't give you the same feedback as the finished shoe, because you don't make it the same way, you don't last it the same way. There's so many differences in the way you last a shoe. I mean, if shoemakers make a shoe for the same person or the same last, they're going to be different, because there's different ways of doing it. The way how tight you pull the leather means it shrinks back more when you pull the last out. It changes the fit. So unless it's the actual shoe, I don't get enough valuable feedback from like a simple mock-up. Not for the way I do it.
No, okay. I'd assume that you learn your way, and
yeah,
that's.
I mean, I have. Sometimes you will, if it's like if you've got like a rare piece of leather or something exotic or something, then you might want to. It's a difficult fit, maybe. Then you might want to try something just to see if the last is okay. And you can get a bit of that information, but for the amount of times that I actually need to start over, it would end up taking more time and costing me more to do a trial shoe.
Yeah.
Because generally I don't need to start again, so it's I wouldn't do anything detrimental to the quality of the finished shoe. So I mean, there's quite a lot you can do to a shoe in welt if you have to. If you're told to by your boss, then there's quite a lot you can do.
How common is it with 2 fittings or more?
Generally one.
Yeah.
Generally one fitting. I mean, over lockdown it's been no fitting, so a few clients have just. I've had a few clients international where I've took the order before on the last trip, and because I've been waiting so long, I said, look, if you want to go through to finish, I used to do that anyway, so I'm not going to lose that much sleep. But just have to reassure people that, look, getting a finished shoe, but it's if it's not right, I will absolutely replace it if I have to. If you're happy to take a risk, you get the shoes sooner. You might not be able to wear them, but you wouldn't wear them anyway because they're not finished. If they're sitting on my shelf in welt, then you're not going to wear them. So I can send them to you finished, and you can try them. And if they're right, then great. And if not, then keep hold of them. And next time over, I'll get them off you and actually do the fitting, and I'll put them right for you. So luckily they've been okay actually doing those, kicking it old school, with straight through to finish, no fitting.
Yeah, I've had. I know when I ordered my first pair from Yohei Fukuda, I didn't know if I ever was gonna return to Japan, so I did that sort of similar, like bespoke, but without the fitting. And it was quite okay. I mean, his second pair was better, but definitely a good fit anyway. So.
I mean, even with the fitting. You're in a hotel room with somebody for half an hour or something, trying a pair of half-made shoes on. It's not the same as actually putting them on and walking down the street to work and wearing them outside in a humid day, and you learn more when you've actually got them.
I guess that's one of the pros with doing that. If you do a more proper fitting shoe, that you can actually wear it for a while, and maybe.
I mean, like a fully made, half-made thing, but even then, it's not. Even then, because you're not going to put the same sole on unless you're actually making a complete shoe, like welted.
Yeah, it's like I think the only one that actually do it that way is Eiji Murata of Mandor. He spends way too much time on his fitting shoes.
But it's even that's not that welted, is it?
It's welted. The second one is welted, but not the outsole is just smacked on, but still neatly done. But
pretty extreme.
Yes,
I mean, fair play to him. He's a wonderful shoemaker, but all the costs in bespoke is the time. It's not the materials, it's the time spent doing it. And unless you're going to charge 3 times the price and to make 3 times the trial shoes, it's a big ask. I mean, I don't believe in charging more for the first pair or charging for last making, that sort of thing. I mean,
what is the price for your shoes now? I have to ask that as well.
That's a good question. What is it? 3,000, I think. Around 3,000 plus tax for shoes and shoe trees.
It's a good price for a British-made bespoke.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of money.
No, of course.
There's no way around it. You can spend more if you wanted. There's certain things that charging more can get you. If you want a certain name or you want to be able to go to a shop, then you just want to make as many shoes as I can, and I try and charge what I think is a fair price.
Yeah. And then we reached the fun part, the delivery of the shoes. Is it important that this is done in person, would you say, or how do you view it?
It's not always possible. I mean, I'm always happy for people to come and get them, or if I can meet someone somewhere. Clients in London, I'm happy to drop round their place if they want. International clients, then generally I put them in the post. It's always nice. It's nice to see clients. It's nice to see them and have a chat. Especially if they're old clients that you've made a few pairs for. If they want to drop by and have a coffee, talk about shoes and whatnot, then that's always a pleasure to do a handover like that. But then pop in the post, or if you live in America or something, then I'll generally make it and put it in the post to you. I'll see you on my next trip if you want. Some people don't want it. Some people, they just want to email for the shoes and get the shoes in the post. Everyone's different.
Yeah. But I assume that it's when they order the second pair when you sort of more closely than would examine the fit of the first pair and go through it?
If I can, yeah, if I can. If I can see them, it's fantastic. It's not always possible. Sometimes I only see people for the fitting and that's it, because they live remotely. And then I'm dependent on sort of written or verbal feedback, which is generally enough. If they tell me that it's a little bit, if the shoe's close to being perfect, then it'll never be perfect. But if they're happy, then if they tell me that it's a little bit tight just on that point, then I can quite easily adjust for that.
Yeah, and photos and videos can do a lot as well.
Yeah, it can do. Yeah, but yeah, just try and get as much information as you can, however you can get it, and do the best job you can.
So how common is it that you have to take the shoes back to fix something after the final delivery?
It's not that often. I mean, usually once the fitting adjustments are made, it's very uncommon really to have a pair of shoes back because they're not right. Quite often, it's if they come back for a new sole or something, then we'll take into account any little tweaks need to be done.
So for a new bespoke customer, what would you recommend he or she think ahead of meeting the maker and starting the ordering process?
There's nothing really you have to think about. I mean, a good fitter should be able to figure out what you want. I mean, think about what styles of shoe you want, but even then there's no rush, because it takes time to make a pair of lasts. You've got a couple of months before any leather's ever going to be cut. So just come with an open mind. We don't have to stop communication just because we've taken your measurements. If you know what you want and say, like, I want that shoe in that leather with that sole, bang, 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 okay, brilliant, that's fine, we'll do that. If you're not sure, then there's no pressure. Go away and think about it, email me. If you've got any ideas, email me, call me, we'll discuss. I'll let you know when the lasts are finished, and then we'll make a final decision. But yeah, there's no rush in shoemaking really. It's just just come with an open mind and be open to some suggestions if needed, and have a think about what we might want, and we'll figure something out.
Yeah. So I know you have a reputation of being very service-minded, and what's the most important part in the relationship with your clients, would you say?
I guess communication.
Yeah,
just. I mean, I'm a customer for all sorts of bespoke things, I know I've experienced it from both sides, and I've had good experiences and bad experiences. So I know what I would expect, and I know what I would consider to be reasonable or unreasonable from a client or from a maker that I'm speaking to. So yeah, I mean, just try and give the best. Just treat people as they should be treated, especially if they put trust in me to make a pair of shoes for them. Then I've got to give them the respect they deserve and try and give them the service that they should receive.
What's sort of the main challenges in making customers pleased, would you say?
I don't know really. I mean, I don't really have any challenges in that regard. I try to make life as easy for the client and myself as I can. I mean, everyone makes mistakes. I mean, if I get something wrong, or I don't try and blame it at something else, I'm happy to accept responsibility. I know the buck stops with me. It's my name on the box, so it's not my colleague's fault. It's just gone wrong. Yeah. Didn't try to get it wrong. So we'll just have to make sure we get it right next time. Communication is where it's at. Especially because everyone's everyone's all around the world, and it's all emails and things these days. So it's not impossible to communicate. If I had to write letters out and put them in the post, it'd be different. But
so, I mean, really interesting talk on this topic, Nicholas. We have to talk a bit about COVID as well here. So how has the past...
What's that?
Yeah.
What's that?
Missed the news. So how has the past 1.5 year or so in this pandemic been for your business?
It's been strange. It's been very slow. I mean, for any with the travel, the lack of travel is a huge impact.
Yeah.
Because for all shoemakers, tailors, whoever, we rely on a worldwide client base. You can't live on local business really. You need to travel. You need to see clients around the world, because not everyone's into this. Not everyone wants to buy this, so you need to have as wide a net as you can have.
Yeah.
And without being able to travel, it's a huge limitation. Hasn't affected me in terms of work because I work from home. I don't day to day. If I didn't turn the TV on and I didn't expect to travel, I would hardly know of anything going on really, because I'm in my own little bubble. So yeah, the lack of travel is a huge impact. Luckily for me, when this started, I was snowed under with work anyway, so I had a big backlog which I've been just slowly working through over the last 18 months. So that's kept me busy. I mean, travel needs to start again soon. If I had a shop and staff wages to cover, then it wouldn't be possible.
How are things looking today now? Are you looking at starting to travel again, or?
I'm hoping that travel will resume. I think it has to. It has to at some point. You know, we can't live in lockdown forever. So once we get the green light to start traveling again, then I'll be back on the road as soon as I can. I mean, I'm fully vaccinated with that sweet BioNTech goodness.
Yeah.
So COVID vaccine pass, whatever it is they're going to call it, and you know, at the moment I can't get to the USA. Anybody that's been in the UK 14 days prior to arrival in the USA isn't allowed in.
Right. Yeah.
As it currently stands, so unless I go and have 2 weeks in Barbados or something, maybe
nice.
to the shoegazing. Shoegazing Barbados.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. We'll do the super trunk.
Yeah, do one. Lots of espadrilles and flip flops.
Fantastic. Yeah, I'll be up for that. Yeah. 2 weeks there, and then I go and do a trunk show. There's no easy way in for someone from the UK. The rules have just changed to allow Americans into the UK if they're vaccinated. So,
but are you starting to get in need of getting new orders in, or still managing?
Any shoemaker who tells you he doesn't need any more orders is a liar. He always needs more orders coming in. So, I mean, I'm not selling to China yet, so it's okay. But yeah, the sooner we can travel, the better, and get work coming through.
Yeah.
Because the industry in general is just so slow, and it's not just me. There's outworkers out there all over the country, and businesses that need to get the ball rolling again. And the West End shoe industry isn't going to be just me. There's other people. You need other people doing it. And
how would you say that feels like England and the areas that sort of the classic shoe world and the bespoke shoe world belongs to is one of the ones that been really badly hit by this. What do you hear from your colleagues and all that?
I think it's tough for all shoemakers and tailors, because I think the bigger you are, the more overhead you have, the more you need a high turnover of orders. I mean, if I'm ticking over with an order here and there, I'm still going to survive. But if you're a shop that's making, 600 pairs a year or whatever, then going down to 10 a year is not going to keep the lights on. So I think it's worrying, yeah. It's for a lot of these sort of craft industries at the moment, it's quite worrying. And hopefully they'll be able to ride it out.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to the world heading back to something of a more normal state as soon as possible, yeah.
I just there's stuff I want to buy as well, and I can't see my guys about buying stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to get. I really enjoy the travel. So yeah, it'd be good to have that back, that routine.
We can't wait for sure, and I'm sure your clients are really looking forward to meet you again. And,
all those fittings on the shelf.
Yeah, exactly. How much the people have gained weight during the pandemic, and you have to
that's a possibility. Yeah,
make much wider last for everyone.
It's a possibility.
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, it's not unheard of.
All right, Nicholas Templeman, thank you very much for being part of the Shoegazing podcast.
It's a pleasure.
Cheers. Thanks a lot for listening to this episode of the Shoegazing podcast. Visit shoegazing.com for much more on classic shoes. And to those of you who want to support shoegazing and make it possible for me to continue to produce high-level content, there is a Patreon page where you can contribute with anything from $3 a month. Both big and small contributions are much appreciated. See shoegazing.com for more info on this. The Shoegazing podcast will be back with a new episode in a while. Hear you again soon.